Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experiences, memories that playing tabletop games with friends and families can create. Today we're looking at Battle of Hoth, designed by Richard Borg and Adrian Marquand, and published by Days of Wonder. Battle of Hoth is the latest game in the Commands and Colors line, which is famous for Battle Cry and Memoir 4 as well as other titles. If you've played any of those games, then you already know how to play Battle of Hoth. However, if you haven't, you can watch my how to play for this game. So let's go to the table and find out how to play Battle of Hoth. First, the setup is going to be scenario specific. You're going to choose a specific scenario or choose a campaign to play, and that's going to tell you which terrain pieces and which units to put out on the board. Each unit will also have a certain set number of pieces that are going to be placed with it during setup. So the rebel infantry will get 3 pieces, whereas the artillery gets 1. Then each player is going to take their deck of command cards, and if you choose to play with the leader cards, each player will choose 1 leader, which will give them 3 cards to add and shuffle into that deck. You'll then look at your scenario to determine how many command cards to draw. It'll also tell you who's going to go first, as well as how many objectives you must complete to win the scenario. Typically, objectives means 1 point per enemy unit completely destroyed. However, some scenarios will have additional objectives that will get you extra points. The game ends immediately as soon as somebody reaches the required number of victory points. A turn consists of playing a command card, activating the designated number of units in the designated sector, or at least as many as you want to up to that number of units, and then drawing a card. When you activate a unit, you get to move and attack. How a unit moves and attacks is designated by your player aid. For example, these infantry will tell you, okay, you can move 1 space, then you can either attack up to 3 spaces away, or you can move a 2nd space. Some units also have special rules which are described in the rulebook, but it's pretty straightforward. Like, for example, the artillery cannot retreat, which makes sense, and if destroyed, doesn't actually count towards a victory point. Moving a unit can never move through or onto a space containing another unit, whether it's friendly or foe. Make sure to pay attention to terrain because some of them does modify your movement rules. When you attack, you look at the distance you are from that unit, and the player aid will tell you how many dice you roll based on that distance. So, for example, the infantry roll 3 if it's adjacent, 2 if it's 2 spaces away, 1 if it's 3 spaces away, and nothing if further than that. However, that can be modified by your command card or the terrain that you or your enemy are on. You cannot shoot through friendly or enemy units, and certain terrain cannot be fired through. After you roll the dice, you will look at the unit you are trying to hit. And if you match a symbol listed on the furthest left spot, then it's a hit. And each time you take a hit, you're going to remove 1 of those pieces. If you've removed your final piece, that unit has been eliminated and the enemy has scored a point. The AT-ATs or AT-ATs are the most complicated to hit. You must successfully roll either vehicle or explosion symbols, and then re-roll any successes and get another explosion symbol. So first roll must be a 1 in 3 chance, second roll is a 1 in 6 chance, which makes them very hard to hit. However, 1 hit and they are destroyed. If, when you roll the dice, the symbol does not match one of the required symbols, it is a miss unless it's a retreat. A retreat symbol causes them to move back, except some units just ignore retreats entirely. If a unit is forced to retreat, it must move towards its own front, so towards you as the player. If the enemy is not able to retreat for each symbol rolled, it loses 1 piece. We mentioned a couple times there are special rules for terrain types, and I'm not going to go through each of them. There are quite a few of them on this double-sided player aid. Beyond that, that is how you play Battle of Hoth. The only additional rule is in the campaign, you're occasionally asked to draw a support card. These are one-time use cards that are situational. They can only be played if you meet the criteria listed at the bottom of the card, and once they're played, you do not draw back up. You only get more support cards if the scenario says you do, which is usually at the start of scenario and possibly if you completed certain objectives. And that's everything you need to know to play Battle of Hoth.